What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another Steelers Saturday Sit Down with Around the 412. I am Smitty. That is Tyler of Around the 412. And real quick, can we just, what was that, like 5 seconds that we were probably on the screen before it actually started playing the intro? I don't know why it does that sometimes.
Yeah.
Sorry you had to look at us
StreamYard.
so long.
We pay you. What are you doing?
Yeah, figure it out. This is like, I'm not going to say I'm as fired up over this as I am the GoFundMe stuff, but StreamYard, let's get it together, boys. But anyways, last week I did forget to work in some of our sponsors. Let's just get that out the way, out the gate, at least that first one. You guys, what are you repping tomorrow for the Steelers game? Let's get yourself a new t-shirt from Game Changers. Not that it would be there for tomorrow's game, but just for the future reference. Game Changers, GameChanger.la, Pick6.la. Save yourself $10 using code AT412 at checkout. Over 5,000 different designs over there, bunch of Steelers related stuff. And then just to incorporate the other stuff that we got going on Pittsburgh wise, obviously there are Pirate stuff, there are Penguin stuff. I actually got to get their Sid tee because I have like a Sid tee kind of that same mold, but it's not from Game Changers. And I turned it into a cutoff because, Monaca, not the best water. Sleeves got what I would call pitted. I don't know if everybody uses the same word, but the pits got a little nasty, so I just cut them off. Now it's just a workout shirt.
Yeah, I think Livy Dunn has a similar scenario this week.
Boom. Nice.
Looks like her shirt got pitted in Paul Skeen's last start of the season.
One of the many things that myself and Livy Dunn have in common. I mean, we both love Paul Skeens. Love Paul Skeens.
Was it you this week that I was talking to where I forget who I was talking to, but someone said they saw a tweet of that picture of Livy Dunn, and it said, "I almost just sniffed the SIM card out of my phone."
Yeah, dude, the replies were disgusting. It was with that Pittsburgh no content. I think that put out the original picture or whatever. No context. And no bunch
content.
of people replying were just no content, no good content is what's coming out of Around the 412 right now. Anyways,
Absolutely.
Not here to talk about the Pirates, not here to talk about the Penguins, because Tyler and I were talking about Marc-Andre Fleury prior to we've literally not talked about Steelers whatsoever. It's the other two sports we've talked about. How does that happen? Anyways, we are here for Vikings week tomorrow, 9:30 in the morning Eastern, 8:30 for Tyler, 6:30 on the West Coast. Steelers, Vikings in Dublin, Ireland. Man, I'm looking forward to this one. I think depending on, it's a hot topic right now. I feel like, how much coaching matters. But if you are somebody that firmly believes that like coaching is very, very important, I don't know if there's a bigger mismatch on the Steelers schedule than Arthur Smith going against Brian Flores and then Kevin O'Connell going against Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin's defense. So from that aspect, if you are big into coaching is important, don't know that you feel great about the Steelers and Vikings tomorrow.
No, and that's something that I've thought about a lot this week. We mentioned it on and Around the 412 Steelers show, how I feel like if you just take away the personnel and look at the coaching itself, that's going to be the real standout, I think, from this matchup. I don't think that the Vikings themselves, now they have, especially on offensively, they have some very star players on
back as well.
Yeah, they've got some talent on the offensive side of the football, but then I look, especially what I think is the biggest matchup is Brian Flores against Arthur Smith, and I feel like when you look at this Vikings defense, you don't really see a ton of like top tier elite talent, but Brian Flores is so good that he gets the most out of these players, schemes the most out of these players, and they perform very well. Look at what they did to Cincinnati just a week ago. Absolutely demolished them. I know that that's a Cincinnati without Joe Burrow, but still, they were relentless. Brian Flores is one of the best coordinators in the NFL, one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. The fact that we had him as a linebackers coach for a year is absolutely insane. And I really think that the matchup for this game, that's going to be the tell-all for this game, is going to be Brian Flores against Arthur Smith. Personnel be what it is. I feel like the coaching is something that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, where Arthur Smith in week 1 had a good game, week 2 against the Seahawks, and week 3 against the Patriots. We mentioned that not so much. We didn't think that he had a great game, even despite a win against the Patriots last week. That's going to be the tell-all in this game, I think, for this one. That's going to be the determination, is if Arthur Smith is able to get the most out of his offense against the Brian Flores defense?
Joel is here. I took Spanish 2 when I was a senior in high school in 2013. That was 12 years ago. And I had no idea what was said here. So, hello, Joel.
I know he says hello.
Yeah, I got that part for sure. But anyways, Carl also here. Are you joining everyone else in picking the Vikings to win? Well, we'll get to that at the end of the show. If you are somebody that watches Afternoon Drive, my picks are already kind of spoiled. But I don't know. We'll see if Tyler, if he differentiates from where I'm at with this or what. What I will say is, even though setting it up the way that I did about the coach, it's not like a foregone conclusion to me that that's the way that this thing is going to go down. So we'll get there as we work through the show here. You were talking about Flores' defense against Steelers' offense, so I say that we start there. Speaking of Flores' defense, not going to have Andrew Van Ginkel, who's a really good player. Flores loves him so much that he wanted to bring him over from Miami to Minnesota. I think he's, one of the two most important pieces on that defense. Now they've gotten by without him. Dallas Turner, who came off IR, started the season on IR, has played very well since coming back into the fold. Obviously, they have Jonathan Renard on the other side there. Pretty good up front. They also have former friend Javon Hargrave up front as well. But yeah, to me, this is all about Flores. I mean, we talked about the sim pressure stuff with Mike McDonald in week 2. Brian Flores does it more, like doing it nearly 30% of the time. And like the rotations post snap that he does from these guys. Like Al and I were talking a lot about this. You got to have very smart players. I think that's the biggest thing. Like from a talent level, these are good, not great players, but they're also smart. You need a guy like Josh Metellus on the back end, who I think is like integral to what they do. And you need to have a guy like that. Harrison Smith's obviously been around and done all of this, but I just think from a personnel standpoint, you got to have versatility. Metellus can play anywhere. He can play both safety spots, can play the nickel, you can play him around the line of scrimmage. Super underrated player. And they play cover 2 and cover 6 primarily, which is funny because it's the complete opposite of what the Steelers do defensively. But it's also stuff that the Steelers offense up to this point has not had any answers for. It's why in week 1, we saw guys schemed open. We saw them be able to create some plays off of play action, even without running the football very well. Week 2 and week 3, Patriots and Seahawks very clearly learned from what the Jets weren't doing in week 1, watching this offense, made adjustments, and the Steelers weren't able to punch back when those adjustments were made. So we'll see. We'll see if this is the week where they have some answers for that. But I think that that's why I opened up talking about the coaching mismatches to me, is because everything that the Vikings do well is what the Steelers don't. Like, gets exposed. So that's why I don't love the matchup on paper here. But you're gonna have to take that opportunity when they do get over aggressive because of the rotations that they make and stuff like that. Maybe there is an opportunity, and I'm not necessarily predicting this is going to happen because we haven't seen it yet. I got to see it to believe it. Maybe we see the opportunity for a DK Metcalf or a Calvin Austin double move to kind of take advantage of how much they want to just go downhill and how aggressive that they play. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Also, DB's here. Is this guy ever not behind a microphone? Not really. No. I mean, this is literally where I work from too. So this is kind of like me 24/7.
Yeah. Double moves need a lot of offensive line protection. And I'm not sure that we're going to get that. Although I do think a lot of the success for the offensive line or for this offense hinges on the offensive line this week. I mean, for how much Brian Flores likes to blitz this defense, I think they're leading the NFL in blitz percentage. And I think that people are going to be open because of that. But are the Steelers going to be able to get the ball out quick enough? Are the offensive linemen going to be able to pick up those blitzes? That's going to be something that is another thing that is going to be huge for this game. Just being able to have more sustained offensive line play. I think that that's something that we went back on the Steelers show this past week and talked about how people will look at the no sack number and just look at the box score of that and think that the offensive line had a great game, but they didn't. The reason that there was no sacks is because Aaron Rodgers is a smart quarterback, gets the ball out, and is able to maneuver in the pocket just enough still at his age to be able to get out of those situations. But consistently, they still were not a great unit. In order to beat a team, in order to beat a defense led by Brian Flores, the offensive line is going to have to be a great unit on Sunday. And I think that picking up those pressures and getting the ball out quick, I think that honestly, like, you're more likely to get some of those quick hitters and hopefully get some yak than you are some of those deep threats, because I just feel like the Vikings are going to be taking away that deep threat. You said like they do a lot of cover 2, which is what the Steelers have been so bad against this season, and they haven't been able to figure that out.
They could run the ball and get teams out of it's just they haven't forced teams to come out of that 2 shell.
Yeah, anybody had, especially like Flores watching the tape for the first 3 weeks of the Steelers, like there's no reason to get out of cover 2. Why would you if there's no threat on the ground? Even with Jaylen Warren being a productive runner, and we call him the Steelers' best offensive player up to this point. We'll see how much he's used on Sunday because of the
we got to talk about that
injury a little bit. But even with him being the most productive player, it's still not that great on the ground. And the Steelers, their identity, we talked about it on Wednesday, they don't have any, because the Steelers' identity through Arthur Smith is supposed to be ground and pound running that football, and they suck at it. So they just are super easy to defend, and that's why we've gotten the performances we have.
Jaylen Warren has more yards after contact this year than he does yards. Just to tell you exactly where things are at. So rushing specifically, also what he can do as a receiver. But yeah, wearing that sleeve on his leg, and it's not just like a normal like compression sleeve or anything like that. It's one of those ones that kind of has like a brace built into it. Now, I saw a friend of the program, Nick Farabaugh, say maybe he shed that later in the week, so maybe we do just see a normal sleeve on Sunday. Maybe we don't see anything. I don't know. But it's on his right leg, so clearly something happened. Also, like if you remember going back to last year, obviously he had the knee thing. He didn't look like the exact same player, but he's looked good. Even without that, with the surrounding elements in the offense. But I do wonder, like, if that is going to affect him to some capacity, then what does that look like? Is it just more Kenny Gainwell? He got to figure out a way to get Caleb Johnson on the field, in my opinion. Carl just mentioned him. Said bold predictions. He gets a 35-yard run. Caleb Johnson might work into my bold prediction for this week as well. We'll get there when we get there. I would say I think Jalen's going to play. I know he's questionable, but you got to remember, like, probable's no longer a tag that you can have for the game. So I think he's on the probable side of this questionable. And maybe they have another walkthrough today. Maybe it gets upgraded and he's not even questionable going into the game. Jonnu Smith is also questionable on the offensive side of the ball for the Steelers with a hip thing. I think he's going to play as well, but it's just weird to, like, if you're limited during a walkthrough, like, what exactly are you like? That's what they were yesterday, and we'll see about today. Yeah. I don't know. So, I mean, very clearly there's something to this. I just think that at the end of the day, they're both ultimately going to play. Don't want to talk about the defensive side yet. We'll get there when we get there to talk about the Sean Elliott getting back into the fold. Yeah, I mean, those two guys are very important to what they want to do offensively. I know we've talked about it the past 2 weeks. I'll bring it up again, though. To your points about, guys in space and just getting them the ball, it does feel like another game where it's like not necessarily the run game getting going. Like, I don't know that I'm going to predict that to happen. But if that's the case, you got to use like plays that are extensions of the run game. I think you got to get some screen plays going. So if it's not Jaylen Warren, maybe it's Kenny Gainwell in that regard. Calvin Austin's a really good player in space when he has the ball in his hands. And DK Metcalf, that's basically been like his usage offensively is either, a contested catch in the end zone or a screen. So they got to find a way to get him out of that. But just specifically for this week and beating the Vikings, that feels like a path. And again, going back to the tight ends, like, they're playing a ton of personnel packages like we thought that they would. Like, the amount of 11, 12, 13 personnel is what we thought it was going to be. It's just the target share has not been there for the tight ends. And Jonnu Smith's basically playing like a running back when you look at the way that he's playing right now. So, like, this looks nothing like what I thought it was going to offensively. I was, very complimentary of Arthur Smith after week one. What they did offensively, I feel like I've been equally as harsh the last 2 weeks. So teams have punched back. Now it's his turn. What's his answer to this? How do we figure this out?
Yeah, I think that the tight end usage has to figure itself out. You look at the snap percentages, and obviously the packages that the offense is going for would lead you to believe that would be the case. But then you look at the actual involvement on the field, and it's just not there, at least not to the level we thought it would be, specifically in the pass game. Like Pat Fryermuth, friend of the show, hasn't really done a ton this year, hasn't been super involved. They haven't involved Darnell Washington
him and Aaron
in the pass game.
Him and Aaron very clearly just a little bit. And it's just, that's the thing. It's not like a lot. It's just a little bit off. He expects him to sit down. He keeps moving to the sideline, doesn't know that defender is right there still with Calvin Austin. The one that he throws just a little bit behind Pat. Like there's just, it's there. It's just a little bit off right now, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm still hopeful that it gets better as the season goes on here. And I mean, Pat has even acknowledged to me, like, he doesn't feel like he's playing all that well right now in that facet. He thinks he's taken another step as a run blocker, and I'd agree going back and watching the tape. But like for people that think like I'm like biased or whatever and not gonna like openly talk about, like, he himself has acknowledged that he doesn't feel like he's played that well and just thinks everything's a little bit off right now.
Yeah. Well, even like moving off Pat, going to like Darnell Washington, the red zone usage isn't there through 3 games. And not that the Steelers have been great in the red zone regardless, but I just feel like we've talked about how that is a situation that's going to be utilized. And it's similar to like what you saw from DK Metcalf last week, where it was basically just a jump ball, go get it. We haven't even seen that being utilized by Darnell Washington. And he's clearly the third tight end within the group. Yeah, he drew a penalty last week. He's clearly the third tight end of the group, especially in terms of like his snap percentage. He's basically a athletic left tackle out there. But I just think that the Steelers' success offensively could hinge
every
on
time
the
they get inside
the
10. Every time they get inside the 10, that should probably be one of their plays and goal to go. Is just lining him up outside. If teams are going to continue to just give that one-on-one out there with a smaller defensive back, I mean, there's no way it can be a bigger defensive back, but as small as we've seen as the ones that they've chosen to have go out there with them, then yeah, like just throw it up at least one time to him, because it's probably going to draw a penalty and give you a fresh set of downs if he doesn't come up with it. So yeah, that should definitely be one of their plays. But I mean, overall, their red zone offense they just haven't gotten to the red zone enough. The red zone offense itself, they've only not converted one time, and it was the interception. It's just they're not getting to the red zone enough. Has been the big, because I think personnel wise, they're in a space where the red zone offense can definitely be a strength of this team, and it's kind of boding like that. It's bearing that fruit here early in the season because of guys like Darnell Washington, because of DK Metcalf. And we haven't even seen that. We talked, going back to training camp. If you would have asked me, like, what's the bread and butter play of this offense, every team should have like that one thing that they feel like they can go to at the very least, their trump card. DK Metcalf on slants. Haven't seen it. I thought that was going to be like easy money for them this year, especially because they went to it so many times in 7 shots throughout the course of training camp. Haven't seen it up to this point. And not even just like in the red, we haven't just haven't seen that be like something that they've brought out of him in general. So I don't know. We'll see going forward.
I'm curious, while we're wrapping up offensively, obviously Jalen Warren, we both expect him to play. He's got that questionable tag right now, no probable tag. But considering that you were questionable through a walkthrough, we'll see what actually happens today. But since we don't know about today yet, in the off chance that Jalen Warren can't go, what is this offense going to look like tomorrow? In your estimation, like how do they get it done on the ground? Because they haven't even been able to with Jalen Warren himself. With Caleb Johnson and Kenneth Gainwell, do you see is there any chance of success if Jalen Warren cannot go in this game?
I don't think so. And the thing, like, I feel like they're very confident about Jalen playing this one, because I think otherwise we would have heard a lot more buzz about, like, hey, why are we seeing so much Gainwell during practice and walkthroughs, and why are we seeing more Caleb Johnson? Like, I don't know. I feel like they know that ultimately Jalen Warren's going to play. But yeah, I mean, the off chance, like, what if he goes out for warm-ups and he's not feeling well or something happens in the walkthrough today? Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily feel great about their chances of having a bunch of success on the offensive side of the ball to begin with. But without Jalen Warren in the fold, I just don't think that this is an offense that can deal with that loss right now. If you asked me, if we had seen more from Caleb Johnson leading up to this point, or if this game was later in the season, maybe, like, if you get Caleb going right now. But yeah, as we sit here right now, that's not a loss that they can take on.
Yeah, I think it'd be an ugly day offensively. It might be an ugly day regardless, but even with Jalen Warren playing, going against Brian Flores, but without Jalen Warren, it's like little to no hope for the Steelers.
Well,
offense.
he's such a safety blanket for them.
Mhm.
I mean, because of what he can create a nothing on the ground, but also like you just dump the ball off to him and he's getting positive yardage. Like very rarely is he going backwards. You're not going to see those negative plays. You might see plays that turn into nothing because of the blocking that he gets in front of him, but it feels like he's always at least getting back to the line of scrimmage. Yeah, I don't think that they can deal with that loss right now on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, getting DeShon Elliott back into the fold, I think, is very big. I'll mention this right from the jump. Get your thought on it because I was told this late in the week here. A lot of conversation about who are the safeties going to be when DeShon Elliott gets back into the fold. The starters, from what I've been told, are going to be DeShon Elliott and Chuck Clark.
See, that's not the combination I would have thought, because that would mean that they're considering DeShon Elliott the more coverage safety. If at least that's how I would look at it based off of the usage of Chuck Clark thus far and the.
Or does that mean
the remaining skill?
Or does this mean Chuck Clark playing in the box, Jalen Ramsey also playing back with DeShon Elliott potentially?
Yeah,
and you have Brandon Eccles and Darius Slay.
Yeah, that could be the case too. It is,
and again, like this is when I say start, they were running. That was apparently those were the ones. However, like,
yeah,
how much are we actually going to see of those two together on the field just based off the personnel that Minnesota's playing? Like that could completely change. So I don't know, but like Chuck, we saw a massive drop in snaps for Thornhill last week. I don't think that this doesn't scream like a big Julius Peppers game to me, but or Jabril. Why say Julius? Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers game to me, but I don't know. We'll see. I just know that it was Clark and Elliott running with the ones. What does that mean in terms of what Sunday looks like for the safety group? I don't know.
I would hope good tackling. I think that's one of the things that you get back with Sean Elliott for sure is one of, if not the surest tackler on the one of, if not the surest tacklers on the team. Maybe some better tight end coverage with DeShon Elliott. They could have used that last week against Hunter Henry, but that's something that we've talked about on the back end that they need to get back is just the impact of DeShon Elliott and how much he impacts, not just in the pass game, but also in the box, coming downhill as a run defender. DeShon Elliott was one of the best in the league at that last year from the safety position. And so that is vital for the Steelers to get back in this game, especially considering that the Vikings are getting Jordan Addison back. They're getting another offensive weapon back. They already have Justin Jefferson. This is another one where if you want to talk about maybe, at least in my estimation, not as drastic of a coaching battle, and maybe part of that is knowing that the Steelers, at least from an individual talent basis, have the defensive players to be able to do well against offensive, like good offenses. I don't know about this. So thus far, they got better in the run this past week, but we'll see what they do with like the likes of Jordan Mason and if they can stop him. I'm kind of just like scattering. Jordan Mason's a fine player, but I don't think that he's better than any running back they've faced so far. And so I feel like the Steelers should be able to figure out the run defense more. Donovan Jackson on the Vikings offensive line is going to be out for this one as well. So they're going to be replacing him with Blake Brandel is who they were replacing him with at left guard. I
know they have Ryan Kelly back at center, and Darisaw came back at left tackle. Yeah. So they got their tackle duo back, which is one of the better ones in the league.
Yeah, but good tackle duo. Brian O'Neill, Pitt player, former Pitt Panther.
I would not have thought he would turn into this good. Like, he was a good player at Pitt, don't get me wrong, and Canada loved using him in different ways, for sure. But like, definitely wouldn't have seen this come in from him, where he's one of the better right tackles in football.
Yeah, the coaching matchup of this one with Kevin O'Connell going against Terrell Austin, I think that the players can offset that a little bit. I think Kevin O'Connell is a great coach, one of the best offensive minds for me in the game, and I think that he gets the most out of his quarterback play. I mean, you literally just saw it last week, going from J.J. McCarthy to Carson Wentz, didn't skip a beat and just put a thump down on the Cincinnati Bengals. I really think that, especially being a former quarterback, he gets the most out of his players from that. And the Steelers defense, I don't know where the strength of this defense is now. I would assume it's still probably in rush defense, even though they've sucked at it. But if they cannot figure out how to limit Carson Wentz on Sunday, it's going to be a problem.
I think the biggest thing is we don't have an answer to the middle of the field intermediate passing. I think that's the biggest question mark that I still have and don't know that we're going to have an answer to even as time goes on here. I think getting Deshaun Elliott back is nice, but it still doesn't necessarily let you get away from running the cookie cutter cover 1, cover 3 stuff that they do. I think you need Joey Porter Jr. back into the fold to really get more exotic on the back end and be able to throw different coverages at people. Because then you can have Ramsey moving around pre and post snap and end up being where is he going to be exactly? Because right now, yes, Jalen Ramsey has the versatility to play in a lot of spots, but wherever he lines up pre-snap, it's not like he's moving away from that. You know where he's playing once he's lined up. I think once you get Joey Porter Jr. back in the fold, that can maybe change a little bit. They went into that New England game 32nd disguise rate. They were showing some different stuff early, didn't necessarily do it throughout the entire course of the game a whole bunch, but we at least saw a little bit of it. But until we get Joey back, I don't know that that's something that we're going to see a ton of. Even with Deshaun back in the fold, I don't think it changes a whole lot for them from that perspective. But definitely still good to get him back into the fold. T.J. Hawkinson is a good tight end. Doesn't look like he's physically fully back yet. If it's ever going to happen from that knee injury, we'll see. But he's still a guy. He's kind of this version of T.J. Hawkinson is kind of like old Travis Kelce, where it's he'll still find those soft spots. He can still make plays, but you can just tell he's athletically not the same player that he was. And we'll see if he can get back to that as time goes on, as he moves further away from that knee issue. But and then they have another tight end, Josh Oliver, where it's okay, if he's on the field, they're not passing the ball. He's paid between $7 and $8 million basically just to run block. So, and Jordan Mason I like. But he's not as good of a pass catcher out of the backfield as Breece Hall is. He's not as good of a pure runner as Kenneth Walker is. So I do think that it's not the same challenge, but they're good up front. Darisaw is one of the best left tackles. I know he's still coming back from his injury as well, and that's why I'm curious. I think Herbig's going to test him. Just want to see how physically back he is, because we saw him give Will Campbell fits. I just think Herbig is such a unique pass rusher. He provides problems to every tackle that he goes up against because of how low he can get, how fast he does it. And I'm excited to obviously watch TJ against Brian O'Neill as well. The off-ball linebacker play is going to be the big thing, I think, in this one to me that I have the biggest question about, both in the run and pass. We'll see if we get that same division of labor where Cole Holcomb's actually playing more than Peyton Wilson. Game script is going to define that to me. If they're running the ball, I think it's cool. If they're in obvious pass situations, I think they put Peyton Wilson out there. So we'll see.
You mentioned the intermediate pass game. That's something that I feel like Kevin O'Connell can exploit pretty much whenever he wants to in this game. And
especially you get guys like Jefferson and Addison on crossers. And even though I like the players on the Steelers back end, it's not necessarily the fastest, most athletic players, at least at this point in their careers. I could see them have given similar trouble to this group as and they're more talented than the Steelers back end was. But in 2023, when we played the Texans, they were just gashing us with this short crossing, intermediate crossing stuff that they would then just outrun the defensive backs and create chunk plays. And I could see this group giving them similar problems with Jefferson and Addison. And even, this version of Thielen is still an okay player. Naylor's a pretty good player, especially as a wide receiver 4. So, yeah.
Yeah. This is... It's setting up for potentially ugly matchup based off of how we've talked about it so thus far. We haven't really talked as if we have the Steelers having a lot of success against this team. And I think that in part of that, it goes to not just what we've seen the past 3 weeks from the Steelers, but also kind of going full circle, this coaching matchup. It just seems like a game where it's inevitable that the Steelers are going to get outcoached in this one. It would be surprising to us and then everyone else if either side of the ball, the Steelers win the coaching matchup because of what they've got over in Minnesota. Like, as far as personnel calling the plays go on the defensive and offensive side of the ball, Minnesota has one of the best coaching duos that you could have for both sides of the football.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kevin O'Connell it's interesting because to me, if I had a son playing the quarterback position, there's not a place that I would rather have him go than Minnesota right now with Kevin O'Connell. I think there's still like some question about how good of an in-game coach he is and like how good of a head coach, but just specifically the quarterback position, offense in general, I think he's one of the best that we got in the league right now, probably top 3. So yeah, I don't know. I think that the Steelers have a talent advantage against the Vikings offense, but that doesn't always matter. Matt Nerdy brought up the Colts, which I'm not 100% sure why, but like just to go back to them, I mentioned this, and maybe this is why. Last year, like 100%, the Steelers had an advantage over the Colts, but Shane Steichen is just such a good offensive coach, and he has killed the Steelers when he's gone up against them. Everything that he knows how to beat cover 1, cover 3. Doesn't matter the level of quarterback play that he gets. Similarly to Minnesota right now with Carson Wentz, he just gives his quarterback those answers to beat them and schemes it up. So it's a tall task.
I think that the Steelers can get to Carson Wentz, and I think they can make him feel uncomfortable. I think that last week he wasn't.
If that happens, he typically turns it over.
Well, that's why I think last week I don't think he was really asked to do a whole lot in this, despite their win being as large.
Yeah,
as
you look at the points and would think that he like lit up the scoreboard.
Yeah, I mean
he played
threw the
fine.
football 20 times.
Yeah,
I don't think that he was asked to do a whole lot. But I also don't think that the Bengals really did anything to make him feel uncomfortable. I do think the Steelers, given the health of the Minnesota Vikings offensive line, can make Carson Wentz feel uncomfortable. And when he's doing that, like you said, he's prone to turnovers. I think that the Steelers, I mean, coming off of a 5 turnover week, they're prone to getting takeaways. So I think that's a good matchup to have if you're the Steelers defense going against their offense. I trust your edge rushers to make them feel uncomfortable. I trust the defensive line, especially what the defensive line looked like with Derek Harmon back was much improved.
That's where I think the interior is you're talking about a backup guard playing. You know, Ryan Kelly's getting older and coming off injury. I think that's where the Steelers can win this one, is pushing the pocket and getting to the quarterback through the interior. And maybe it's those guys doing that, and then the edges clean it up. But I really think that it's really good. If the Steelers have success defensively, I think it's because they just dominated the interior.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if the Vikings are smart, I think they just get the ball out quick every single play, not even give the opportunity for Pittsburgh to get home. But
Matt brought up last week I said that they were last year's Saints. Okay, I didn't say that they were for sure last year's Saints. I brought them up as an example as why I wouldn't use a 2-game sample size to say that they are unstoppable or whatever, because last year's Saints were first in scoring through 2 weeks, and now Derek Carr is retired. And you saw how things flamed out. However, I will say this. The Colts readjusting because of how bad that division is more than anything else, I think probably are going to win the AFC South. And you look at that schedule, I think they're going to lose this week to the Rams. I still don't necessarily think the Colts are like very good. 2 of the 3 teams that they've beaten were the Dolphins and the Titans, who are both going to be picking the top 5 of the NFL draft, in my opinion. And then they beat the Broncos because they got a second shot at kicking a field goal. So probably should be 2-1 right now with wins over the Dolphins and Titans, if we're being real. However, yeah, they do look very good. I'm very impressed with what they've done.
Danny Dimes looks completely different.
Shane Steichen. Not to take credit away from Daniel Jones. He's still got to play the position. That's what I'm saying. Kevin O'Connell, Shane Steichen. Look at what these offensive coaches can bring out of quarterbacks that we completely write off.
Well, Malik Neighbors said it wasn't the quarterback. It was not the quarterback in New York.
I didn't get the sense he was super excited about Jackson Dart either. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the way
if you're Malik Neighbors and you have a 6th quarterback in a year and 4 games, would you be excited about your 6th quarterback either?
I mean, it's a good point. Pittsburgh's gone through a lot of quarterbacks recently, though, too. Kind of different situation, I guess, the last couple years, because it was just like bringing in older vets in there. Just they can't find good enough play from a guy, but I don't know. We're going through it, too. We're going to have another new one next year. All right, let's get into some predictions, I guess. Offensive, defensive, bold predictions, as well as our score predictions. I don't remember the way that we did it last week. I don't know who started or what side of the ball we started on.
I started offensively last week.
Okay. Well, we started talking about Flores' defense first, going against his offense. So we'll start on offense first, but I'll go. Last week I had a theme, which was things that are going to be good for the Steelers. People are still going to be upset about to some degree. Derek Harmon getting his feet wet was playing 35 snaps. So I'm excited to see what him not getting his feet wet is. But stick on the offensive side of the ball here. So my theme this week is redemption. Don't have necessarily like a revenge game necessarily, if you will, going against the Vikings. However, we do have some guys that I think are eager to try to do something. And Jaylen Warren, a little bit banged up. I think he's going to play. Caleb Johnson scores his first NFL touchdown this week.
What I would love to know, though, and I know you probably may have not even thought about this, but would that be a longer run from outside of the red zone that he breaks and gets in, or do you think that they trust the call? You did, okay.
So it's similar to the long play that Jaylen Warren busted off against the Seattle Seahawks, but then he had to come out of the game. So we saw Kenny Gainwell on the field. So that happens basically again, but in that spot, Caleb Johnson goes onto the field, and they're like inside the 5.
Okay. So it's not a big long run.
No.
I think my real question was, are the Steelers going to trust him with the football inside the 5-yard line?
Here's the thing. Like, he's looked, at least from what I've seen talking to Alan, in practice and stuff like that, getting choked up talking about Caleb Johnson. He's looked fine as a running back. He just should have never been back there on kickoff. Sure. And it's unfortunate that he got put into the doghouse, even for his position offensively, for what happened on special teams. But it is what it is. I'm not excusing him for making that mistake. I just think that it was coaching malpractice for him to even be in that position to begin with. So I think offensively, yeah, I would trust him as a runner.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. He didn't really do anything on offense to make you say that he's a bad running back. But yeah.
Now, I don't know that I would trust him in pass pro or anything like that. Again, you're just getting him a carry. And think of what that could do for a confidence perspective. I think people really undersell confidence when it comes to professional sports. Great example, look at Marvin Harrison Jr. on Thursday night. I mean, in general, look at Marvin Harrison Jr. and then look at the way that it started out for him on Thursday, and then look at the second half of what he was able to do. And then look at his reaction to scoring a touchdown. You want to tell me that that's not real and guys aren't playing with that on their shoulders, and how good of that feels to just have that weight released. So
yeah, people think that it operates as a business, so there's no emotion going into it.
Yeah.
But
Matt said, does he know the rules? It'd be funny if he runs into the end zone or something like that, and then just keeps running. Just run through the entire end zone. I don't know. Play into it. Make fun of yourself if you get the opportunity to score. Maybe just not even celebrate, just set the ball down. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what the funniest way for him to score a touchdown would be, and then how to respond to it. Maybe
score the touchdown and then leave the ball in the back of the end zone.
Now, somebody said this in the comments of the afternoon drive after that was my bold prediction. Said he's going to get tackled at the 1 and fumble through the end zone, and it's a touchback. If that happens, that's probably it for him this year. That's probably it for him this year.
That's honestly worst case scenario, and that's how you emulate a touchdown that is not actually a touchdown and ends up being the worst case scenario in that position. Oh, that'd be good. Okay, moving along. My bold prediction offensively, I touched on it a little bit, talking about the offense, how we're not seeing a ton of usage from him in the red zone opportunities. I think Darnell Washington finally gets a red zone target, and then he gets a touchdown in one of those one-on-one matchups. Again, the utilization of him in the red zone is questionable thus far to me. He is one of, if not your best target in the red zone, and especially whenever you're inside the 10 and in. I feel like they need to utilize that more. They're going to do it this week. Darnell Washington receiving touchdown.
Okay, I like it. All right, defense. I'll let you start for defense since I started with offense.
Okay, defense. I think that they are going to have, and this is more of a team prediction than an individual prediction, but I think that they are going to have a combination of interceptions and fumbles of 4+ turnovers again from Carson Wentz and company. I think that they're like you saw 5 last week. I think you're going to see 4+ this week again. I think that the defense is going to make Carson Wentz feel uncomfortable. And like we mentioned just a little bit ago, when he's uncomfortable, he is prone to turnovers. Now, and then I said there's a combination of takeaways, because I don't necessarily think they're going to get like 4 interceptions, but I think that you're going to see the Steelers defense get at least 4 takeaways in this one.
Last week, like, he was still putting the ball in harm's way a couple times. I think he had 2 or 3 turnover-worthy plays in that one. Cincinnati just didn't take advantage of it. So, yeah, like, it's not like he played like this super clean, perfect game for Minnesota, and that's why they won. They had 2 pick sixes. Their defense balled out. And even when, like, I don't know, he played well. I'm not trying to take away from him. I just think that you look at that scoreboard and you're like, oh, Carson Wentz must have lit it up. He played fine, played pretty good, but I think he still put the ball in harm's way a couple times. We'll see if the Steelers can take advantage of that if it does happen again. My defensive bold prediction, because like I said, we're rolling with themes. It worked well last week. We're sticking with a theme this week. So what I came up with was it was a redemption week for a couple of guys. On the defensive side, who do I think about when it comes to redemption right now? The much maligned Peyton Wilson, with the way that people are talking about him. He's getting a turnover. One of those 4 that you're predicting from Carson Wentz will come from Peyton Wilson in this one.
That would be a much needed change of pace based off.
Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson scores a touchdown. Peyton Wilson gets a turnover, and the Steelers win. Play in the parade. I'm back.
Steelers win. Is that a little preamble to your prediction?
No, it's not. I'm just saying if that happens.
I figured as much.
I'm saying if that happens, then we're all the way back.
We are all the way back. Also, I mean, I know we're getting into the score prediction.
I like Joel's bold prediction here, by the way.
I Caleb Johnson 3 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Jerome Bettis is back. Jerome Bettis is in Dublin for this game. There's a ton of Steelers there. By the way, it's been awesome to just kind of follow along on social media.
Also, I don't think we've been live for 44 minutes almost. We haven't even mentioned that this game is in Ireland. I don't even think
I did at the beginning.
Oh,
I said like 9:30 for the East Coast, 8:30 for you.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
On the West Coast. But yeah, that was really the only time. Like, this is going to be, I'm curious to see like what the broadcast looks like and how different it feels, how special it feels. They are going to treat it like a Steelers home game, and that they are doing player introductions. There is going to be Renegade played. So I'm curious to just see all of it. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not being there. I had a game ticket if I wanted it, but I still would have had to have taken care of the, the flight, the travel, and the Airbnb or hotel or whatever. So I didn't make it happen. And I probably would have made more of an effort if, hey, I don't know if you guys know this, I'm at every home game. So would have maybe made more of an effort if that wasn't going to happen. But.
And he's humble too.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, Joel falls into that 6:30 bucket.
So, yeah, that sucks.
That's awful.
That sucks.
Matt said, wait, Matt, are you just saying a lot like how I did with like following along on social media? Are you there? Because that's sick if you're there. But I'm upset about not being there, just following along on social media. And I think it's awesome that so many like Steelers alumni made the trip as well.
Yeah. I'm typically not a huge, like, I think that growing the sport internationally is good, but when it involves my own team, I think I'm typically not a huge
Well, get used to it, pal.
Yeah.
When they go to 18 games, every single team is going to play at least one international game. That's the plan. And I think for the Steelers, this is going to be, I think, like their second home. I think they're going to play here very often. I know they want to play one in Mexico City. Alan mentioned to me yesterday they also want to play in where was it? Dortmund,
Germany.
Is the other place. Yeah, is I guess where they've also shown interest in playing a game. But once they like knock those out of the way one time, I feel like Ireland is where they want. And I think that that's important to build a fan base in a specific area too. Like I think that there's already so many Steelers fans there, but this could be like their. I don't want to turn it into like Jacksonville with London, but as close to. I think like really focus in on this area and make it their area and become their NFL team.
Well, that's what I was trying to say, that I'm usually not a huge fan of international games in the past when it involves the Steelers. I just feel like I'd rather them play at home. But as far as Ireland goes, this feels like the best case scenario for the location to have multiple Steelers games because of the connection that the Roonies have with Ireland. It seems like it's a desirable location for a fan base for Steelers fans. And yeah, so like this is like best case scenario for international games. If they play elsewhere, then that's fine. But I agree with you that I think Ireland is a long-term spot where they can go back, not necessarily annually to that spot, but like very consistently to Dublin.
Yeah. So it's been cool. It's been cool to see. And if that's the case, maybe I'll make the trip the next time they are there. But all right, game predictions. I think you would be the first to go based off us going back and forth here.
Yeah, I already have a feeling of what your prediction is going to be, what most predictions are going to be for this game. And so without even hearing yours, I'm going to choose to, I think, be different. I'm actually going to say a surprise. I mean, upset in the sense, I don't know how this game, like the line is like 2.5 points for Minnesota. I'll be honest. I don't know how it's not more. I know this is treated like a pseudo home game for the Steelers. And as the home team, you get certain points your way in terms of betting lines go. But let's face it, this is a neutral site game. This should not have any home proponent to it. And so far as betting lines go, don't know how Minnesota's only a 2.5 point favorite in this one. However, I do think, despite all that, despite the coaching challenges that we talked about all of this show, despite the offensive weapons that the Minnesota Vikings have, I think the Steelers are going to squeak away with the win in a unpredictable way. Like I don't think that many people are seeing the Steelers going into this one and thinking that there's a good opportunity to win this football game. And I think that most of that has to do with what we talked about with the getting out coached on both sides of the football. But I do think that the Steelers win this game. I think that they win a close one, but I think that they win off of a Chris Boswell field goal late in the fourth quarter. Not going to say a walk-off, but I think that we take the lead late in the fourth quarter. The Steelers are going to win this game 20-17, and it's going to shock a lot of people that the Steelers won in Dublin.
Matt mentioned that the Bills are 16.5 point favorites. I looked and they're playing the Saints, so that makes sense. That's a lot of points. That's crazy. And they were favored by like 7.5 against the Dolphins on a short week last week, which is crazy for like a Thursday. Excuse me. I just smacked my microphone for a Thursday game. So, but yeah. Here's the thing.
Was I right that I'm going the opposite of you?
Here's what I'll say before I give my full prediction here is
okay.
I do think that in talking about this, we've maybe overhyped the Vikings a little bit. Like, yes, they are very well coached on both sides. This team also lost to the Atlanta Falcons in week 2, who just lost 30-0 to the Panthers. Like, it's not like this Minnesota team is this perfect team that's the favorites to win the NFC or anything like that. I think the way that we've talked about them has been very complimentary of their coaching staffs. And they have good players, and I think they are a good team. I think that they're a playoff team regardless of who's playing quarterback for them. That's how strongly I feel about the Vikings. But I don't think that they're like some unbeatable juggernaut. That being said, I do think that they win tomorrow. I have them beating the Steelers by a score of 24-17. I think the Steelers do have a shot with the ball down one possession late in this game, and they turn it over. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt for sure. Not sure if I'm going to show up for post-game with Allen if that happens, but it's not as much of a heartbreaker as he's predicting. He's got them the Steelers losing 24-23. And I'm like, how does that even happen? Because let Boswell go out and kick it from 80. If you're down by 1 point with the ball at the end, he has them turning the ball over as well on their last possession. They get a shot at the end and turn it over. I'm like, don't even throw the ball. Run it 3 times and kick it from 80.
Yeah. That's probably a better chance of winning. Like I said, in week 1, I felt so calm whenever he went out and kicked it from 60. I'd probably feel a similar scenario. Like, I'd rather, instead of throwing Hail Marys, just let him kick it and see what happens.
That's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous to even think about them not even trying to throw the ball from the 25-yard line. No, but I mean, if you start at the 35, if it goes, they'd probably not try to kick it through the end zone. But let's just throw out the scenario. If you did a touchback on that kickoff, you can start from the 35. Realistically, if you get 15 yards, you can attempt that field goal.
Yeah. That'd be wild to see in real life, but I don't like your prediction as much.
Well, the good news is one of us will be right.
Yeah, one of us will be right. And listen,
and with your prediction, if they are 3-1 going into the bye, that's what I would have predicted. It's just this would have been the loss that I would have predicted before the season.
Yeah. And I do agree with you that I think that we have overhyped the Vikings a little bit in terms of how we've been talking about them, but I think it is literally all their coaching staff. And I think that should be respected and that should be hyped up, not necessarily just the personnel that they have, which I don't think that we've necessarily overhyped their actual players. I think that we have talked about how good their offensive coaching is from Kevin O'Connell, how much he gets out of the quarterback play, and then Brian Flores, one of the best defensive minds in the game right now. I don't think that we've even though we've talked greatly, but I don't think that we've undersold it either. I don't think it's hyperbole what we're saying.
Somebody hire him as a head coach. Get him out of there before tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. I don't know who's going to fire Miami. Bring him back.
I don't know. Ask some certain Steeler fans. Maybe they should hire him.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Everybody talks about how should never let him walk out into there's Steelers fans that would have been willing to do this, but you also would have had to gotten rid of Tomlin, in my opinion, in order to keep Flores. He was never going to be the defensive coordinator under Mike Tomlin. He had to go somewhere and be the defensive coordinator for an offensive-minded head coach where he was running the show defensively. So if you would have been okay with that, that's completely fine to have that opinion. But it wasn't just a matter of them choosing Terrell Austin over Brian Flores.
Sure. Yeah, well, that was a few years ago now, and there's still people calling for Tomlin's head as far as the head coach goes.
Sure. I mean, that's going to happen. He's certainly responsible for quite a bit of blame. I'm not taking it off him, but yeah, fun show. Hope tomorrow's a fun game, regardless of what result we end up getting. The good news or bad news is all eyes are going to be on this. Nobody else playing at the same time. So this is the game everybody's going to be watching if they're watching football in the morning. Exclusively on the NFL Network, unless you were in market. So be sure to tap in. You got the ability to watch this game, Tyler? I guess that's a good question.
No, I don't. So
dang,
I will be on a stream.
A stream, okay.
Well,
don't have to give it away.
Well, sometimes
they might be watching.
Whether it's buff streams, crack streams, weak streams. Stream East doesn't work anymore. It like got blocked, probably because LeBron James was watching Stream East while he was at a game and publicized it so much that they shut.
How funny was it when Adam Schefter last year like tweeted out a clip and it said like crack streams at the top?
Yeah, but whatever stream will work. Because listen, I wish this game wasn't on NFL Network because I have access to watch all of the other programs whenever it's when it's in market for Oklahoma where I live, but I don't have access to NFL Network. At least I don't think I do. Maybe I can log into somebody's TV provider. I don't know if I'm able to do that, but if I can watch it. But I'll have to do some research on that. We'll see. Otherwise, I'm gonna be on buff streams.
I'm fairly certain I have NFL Network through my Hulu Live TV. I mean, I have it because of it being local anyway. But I'm fairly certain I have it because of NFL Network. I'll send you my info and you can see if it'll pop up for you.
Okay.
But anyways, that's not a conversation we need to have on here. Appreciate everybody in the live chat.
I need your password. I need your mother's last name, and I'll need the last four of your social.
Appreciate everybody being here in the live chat right now. If you're watching it back, feel free to comment your predictions as well. Let us know how you think that this is going to play out. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you have not already, hit us up everywhere at Around the 412 on all of our socials. You can find the show on all your listening platforms as well. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there if you're listening Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Just search Around the 412. And we'll be there as well. Shout out to the sponsors that make this show happen. Already talked about Game Changers, Teach Barbershop as well. Download the app, The Cut, book an appointment with Teak, or you can do a walk-in with Tony or Ashley as well. And then Marceau Electric. And to be honest, dang, get a new logo. I forgot to upload it and show it to you guys. I'll have it ready for next week on the Steelers show, and we can talk about it then. Also, the Penguin show come back next week as well. And I don't think we mentioned at the top, but Year 8 Rocking Around the 412 going on as well. And the East Rochester Angel Tree stuff will be coming in the very near future. So donate. You'll be eligible to win some prizes if you do donate, regardless of what GoFundMe says over there. Some Penguin tickets probably, not for Fleury's last game taking place tonight, but for a Penguin game during the season, as well as a bunch of other stuff, autographed memorabilia probably, and some other fun prizes. But every single penny that is donated that we receive goes directly to giving kids in the 724 and 412 areas the Christmas that they deserve. And Tyler and I never had to worry about where it was coming from growing up. So, Tyler, what'd you say that made Matt laugh, by the way?
I'm assuming asking for your mom's maiden name and your last four of social and your password.
Oh, Brucker.
Brucker?
Yeah.
Beth Brucker?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, not that I would have guessed it on the first try anyway, but if you could have given me a guess, I would have came nowhere close to that.
Yep. Very, very different from Smith, her now last name. But anyways, appreciate all you guys that are always here.
In the United States.
We got a lot of, and in 1995, when I was born, Zachary was like the most common first name for that specific year. So like I literally had the most common name that year. Jones might have been in front of Smith at the time. But like combination, first and last name, probably the most common name for a boy. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. But appreciate everybody here. I feel like a lot of the usual cats showing up this week, and we appreciate you guys always being here on Saturdays with us. If you're watching this back, we appreciate you for doing so as well. But like I said, drop us a comment. Let us know how you feel like this is going to go down. We got the bye. We're not going to see you guys next Saturday. So we'll see you the following one for Browns week. We get into divisional play here. Very excited about that. But we'll still have the Steelers show. And then, of course, Penguin show returns next week as well before we get to the regular season, which is fast approaching. And we'll talk about the fact that Eric Carlson, Brian Russ, Ricard Raquel, all still on the Penguins roster, which I would not have predicted. We'll talk about it on the Penguin show. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.